All right, Jeff, you can go ahead and get us started.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Reverend Jeff Harold. I'm pastor of New Beginning Community Church of Washtenaw County. And I am chair of the Voter Registration, Education, and Mobilization Committee of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated Sigma Rho graduate chapter. Tonight's candidate forum is being hosted by the Interfaith Council for Peace and Justice and co-sponsored by the Sigma Rho chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated and the Washtenaw Regional Organizing Coalition, otherwise known as WeROC. This is an opportunity for us to hear from our candidates for County Commissioner in Districts 5 and 6. Unfortunately, our candidates from District 2, Crystal Light and Stephen Ranzini, will not be able to participate with us tonight. And we have some of our candidates will have to leave early today. So they will be making their statements before 7 o'clock because they have to leave by 7 o'clock. So we hope this is going to be informative for you. We hope that you hear from these great candidates about their vision and their ideas and their heart and their drive. So how this will go, each person will have 2 minutes to answer questions. There will be someone with a 30-second reminder on the screen to let you know when your time is almost done. I will say to everyone, mute yourself if you're not talking, or if you are combing your hair, or if you're grooming your dog, or out taking a walk so that we don't get dizzy. So we want to really focus on our candidates today. We will have questions that were prepared by community members and also from our attendees. And we will have one round that is district specific. So again, if you want to turn off your video so that we can focus on the candidates during the live stream, that will be great. All right, so what I'm going to ask for now is an opening statement from each of our candidates. What we're going to look for is more of an introduction of who you are, a favorite memory of your time in Washtenaw County, and let's give that about a minute. So I'm going to start as folks appear on my screen. So at the top of my screen is Annie Somerville. So we're going to start with you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Annie Somerville. I'm running for County Commission in District 6, which is the entire city of Ypsilanti, part of Ypsilanti Township, and a very small piece of Superior Township. I've lived in Ypsilanti for almost 10 years, and I would say I have a lot of favorite memories. I think a recent favorite memory, just being out in the community and running into former classmates or professors, honestly, out on the campaign trail has been really excited to talk about the issues that I care about and why I'm running, and being able to reflect back on my time as a student here. So I think just like my favorite memory is just the reminder of how great our community is when I get to talk to folks just out in the district.
Thank you, Annie. We're going to now hear from Commissioner Justin Hodge.
All right, thank you and good evening, everybody. I'm Commissioner Justin Hodge. Thank you for putting this forum on and bringing some attention to the work that we're doing in county government. It's the part of government I think is most exciting. I'm a lifelong Michigander, a licensed master social worker and a professor of social work at the University of Michigan, where I teach policy courses. I've committed my entire career to public service, from the work that I'm doing now to when I was doing child and family therapy. I first ran for county commissioner because I believe that everyone in our county should have the opportunity to thrive and be successful, to have the opportunity to be healthy and to build wealth and to be safe. I'll talk more about that as we go, but to identify one of my favorite memories here in Ypsi, it would be the large garden project that's taking place at Sugarbrook Park. I live in Sugarbrook, and Sugarbrook Park is on the street that I live on. My wife led a huge garden project where we and many community members and organization members installed a 1,300 Michigan native wildflower garden in Sugarbrook Park. Just one of the things that we've been trying to do to uplift some of the spaces in Ypsilanti Township that haven't gotten as much care and attention. And it was a great way to build community.
Thank you very much. We're now going to go with Miss Letitia Sharp.
Hi, everyone. My name is Letitia Sharp, and I am a candidate for District 5. I am a long life member of Washtenaw County. I'm sorry, let me start all over. My name is Letitia Sharp, and I am a long-serving employee of Washtenaw County. And I've been with the county for over 34 years. I am running for Washtenaw County Commissioner to represent District 5. I have been in the district all my life, and I've been doing the work of the county for the majority of my life. One of my favorite memories goes back to my childhood, as I grew up on the south side of Ypsilanti. I enjoyed the freedoms of playing outside and going to the Boys and Girls Club. But one of my fondest memories is the summers that we had the Black festivals at Perry Elementary School. And that was a time where all the communities got together. A lot of that reminded me this past weekend with the Juneteenth celebrations, and when the communities came together and people had fun and neighbors were safe, and people had a place to go. So that was one of my fondest memories.
Thank you very much. So we just heard that Representative Ronnie Peterson will be just a few more minutes late, and so we're going to now go with Commissioner Ricky Jefferson.
Thank you, Pastor Harold. Yeah, Letitia did take the one that I was thinking about when the Black Arts Fair started. You know, the Youth on the Move by Sharon Newton was charge of that, and that was teenagers putting together the first ever Black Arts Fair within the country. It was so successful that the Detroit area came down and asked for that Youth on the Move to make it happen in Detroit. And that's why you have your African American Festival in Detroit during that Labor Day holiday. They followed right after our Black Arts Fair every year in the 70s. But also I remember before urban renewal, when we had Black businesses lining Harriet Street and even on Monroe Street, where we could go and have, groceries. We could do anything as far as pool halls and those type of things. The housing was real available, and cars were only like maybe 6,000 to 20,000, and homes you could buy them real cheap, maybe 30,000. Those are the times that I remember. And nowadays those things are not here, but it was a very fruitful time for my community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take a point of personal privilege to kind of level the playing field here as we go forward. Having introduced folks by their current incumbent names, if you don't mind, I'm just going to drop down to first names for everyone, so that we're all on a level playing field here. And the same thing for me. Okay, rather than Reverend, I'm Jeff. So we'll just, if that's okay with everyone, we'll proceed that way. Okay. All right. So we're going to go on and start with our round of questions. And on this one, we're going to go from the last speaker forward. We'll start with Ricky. How will you stay connected with your constituents? And this is going to be a question answer that we're posing to everyone at this moment. How will you stay connected with your constituents throughout the next 2 years to get their input about important policy and spending decisions? And how will you broaden your connections to people and organizations who may not already be inside your circle?
Thank you. That's the way that I would do that is making sure that I continually, as I have been doing, be available and attend as many events and meetings within the community that has already established themselves as advocates or as activists. Having those meetings within my community and making those meetings will give me a much better opportunity to talk with people on that level. Also, I reach out with those who have desires to do things in the community through calling me. A lot of people will call me for a lot of things, and reaching out to them also. There is the opportunity now with our communications and operations person, Peter Linderman, to do town halls and to do those type of things when we are looking at putting something in communities where we want input from our residents and what they think should be best in the community. Without their voices, we don't know exactly what to do, and we don't know everything until we find out from them what it is their needs are. So continually advocating with those who have been part of organizations that have already started up within the community, and making sure that those relationships are fruitful, and making sure that those relationships are dealt with most time at least once a month, but most of the time every 2 weeks, because the job is difficult to maintain a schedule. But definitely I have a lot of time on my hands, so yeah, keeping in touch with people through those ways, and social media also.
All right, thank you. Letitia, same question, I'll repeat it for you. How you stay connected with your constituents throughout the next 2 years to get their input about important policy and spending decisions, and how will you broaden your connections to people and organizations who may not already be inside your circle?
Well, actually connecting to communities is one of the most important things that I feel. And that's really the reason I'm one of the main reasons I'm in the race, is the disconnect that we have with county government to the community. So connecting communities is something that I find is very important, because I just don't understand how board priorities or decisions or things of that nature can even come to the board table if you've not connected and actually reached out to your constituents. One of the things that I would do is I would utilize whatever media platforms or social media platforms, but I would also go back to going actually to the neighborhoods, even the neighborhoods that I'm not as comfortable with, or the neighborhoods that I consider myself a person that can collaborate and go into areas that others might not feel not as comfortable. So I believe that social media platforms utilize the county website, and I will have all my time dedicated to working and being connected to the community. I won't have any other distractions that would take me away from that. But I do believe that I want my constituents, when someone asks them, who is your county commissioner, I want them to boldly and not have to guess and say, Letitia Sharp is my commissioner, because she has reached out to me. She's concerned about what's happening in my neighborhood, and whether it's in my comfort zone or not. And I don't find actually any area in Washtenaw County, not my comfort zone, but specifically in District 5. That's the heart of where I grew up. That's what I know.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So Justin, we're going to ask you the same question. How would you stay connected with your constituents throughout the next 2 years to get their input about important policy and spending decisions? And how will you broaden your connections to people and organizations who may not already be inside your circle?
It's a great question. It's one of the ones I'm most excited about as we transition into this next phase of how we're handling the pandemic. We've really relied a lot on digital interaction with people and some town halls throughout our time as we figured out how we were going to make use of American Rescue Plan dollars. But I'm really excited for more opportunities to do events across the district, meet and greets at parks, issue-focused topics. So if we know there's something big that's going to be coming up that we're going to vote on, go around the district and have events at different places to be able to gather those thoughts. We do a pretty good job at getting surveys out, so we will continue to do that. But I think there's a lot more that individually commissioners, we can do on our own to engage constituents, as well as the work that happens within county administration to support us in getting that kind of feedback. So doing all of that, continuing to be visible and active on social media, answering the phone. I mean, that's a lot of it. I get a lot of phone calls which is a great way because not everybody's on social media. So making sure that we're engaging our residents in that way too. And then looking for more opportunities to be able to help residents know the kind of work that happens in county government. One of the things that I was really happy that I was able to do as we moved into this new year was help change how our meetings function. And now they're much more, I think, accessible to the public and less confusing. We moved away from that ways and means and then full board meeting structure that made it harder for residents to know exactly what was going to be on the agenda when they do public comment. So that's another thing I'd like for us to look at too, is expanding the opportunities for public comment. We've continued to do hybrid public comment, and we've expanded our written options for public comment. And I've been advocating for us to be able to add audio visual option too. So just really expanding the options that we have for the public to engage with us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the answer. And Annie, how you stay connected with your constituents throughout the next 2 years to get their input about important policy and spending decisions, and how will you broaden your connections to people and organizations who may not already be inside your circle?
Thank you. This is something that I do daily, both at serving on city council and working for my boss, State Senator Jeff Irwin. I love being able to just have constituents call me and ask to advice on how to navigate a certain government agency. But also one of the things that I've tried doing in the last 3 years as a city council person is making sure people have information about what's coming up on our council agenda before it actually happens. That way they can be prepared to either provide comment to council before the meeting over email if they can't be there in person, or show up in person. But just generally, I think hosting normal, regular scheduled coffee hours where people can come out into the community and meet with you face to face, or even over Zoom, like we've seen a lot since the pandemic. Going door to door, talking to people one-on-one about what they care about at the county level, what they think can be improved, how county services can make their lives better. Going to events, of course, but many people, on weekends when things are going on, or maybe at work. So really during the week, trying to hit opportunities where people might be, whether it's parks or other community events, the transit center. Other ways, though, we have a lot of good people that do really amazing work to get people information about their elected officials. Ipsy Can I Share does a really good job at making sure people know who their elected officials are at every level of government. Also, going on shows like Brian Foley's show, where people, once a week can learn a little bit about a certain topic and ask questions in real time. Activating neighborhood associations in the community. Being overall more transparent. I really like people message me all the time over Facebook about issues in the city. And I like that they can do that and I'll respond, whether it's texting or Facebook message or phone call. I just try to be available, but also actually get out and go to people, because lots of folks don't know that they have city council and county commission and state rep and state senators. So there's a lot of levels of government that people have a hard time navigating. So I just believe in bridging that and making sure that they know that, I'm here and this is what I can help you navigate. So just really getting to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Ronnie Peterson has joined us. Welcome. We're glad to have you here. What we're going to do is give you 3 minutes, a minute for your introduction to tell us about yourself, and 2 minutes to answer the question we've been answering everybody on the first round, which is, how will you stay connected with your constituents throughout the next 2 years to get their input on important policy and spending decisions? And how will you broaden your connections to people and organizations who may not already be inside your circle?
Thank you for this opportunity to appear, and thank you for the opportunity to answer the questions. I'll try to do it less than 3 minutes. And certainly I appreciate the opportunity to introduce myself. I'm Ronnie Peterson. I was born and raised in Ypsilanti. I basically spent my entire life here in the Ypsilanti community. My whole family has, my brothers and my sisters. This is a place we have, let me say, reared at and also live at. I would say that the vehicle of communication is no question whatever I could do in writing and oral. And I made myself available and accessible to meetings and forums, sometimes too many in the morning or in the evening. And I would continue to do that. I think that also I would say I would encourage more forums and more vehicles to communicate with organizations and groups. So many groups and organizations in this community have grown over the years, and I came as a Cub Scout, Boy Scout, Junior Achiever, and JC, and everything above. But organizations that grew in this community so largely, sometimes we are not aware of some of the organizations that exist. I will continue to kind of reach out to them and make sure I'm available and accessible for forums like this. Sometimes it's overtaxing, and sometimes I cannot juggle my schedule, but many times I do. And it's very difficult and challenging because I drive all the way from Lansing sometimes to make it possible like this evening. Thank you. I'll stop there to allow other people time and questions.
Thank you very much. So we're going on to the second question, and we're going to start this time with Letitia. Okay. What specific programs would you like to see funded to prevent residents, especially youth, from entering the criminal legal system? In particularly, how would you address racial disparities in this area, and how would you fund it?
Oh, okay. This is the heart of me and the heart of my being. I developed a youth summer playground program in the Sugarbrook area back in 2017. Originally, it was supposed to just be a one site program, and it was supposed to be for just 30 children. That wasn't enough for me because at that time, there was nothing else for them to do. I was able to partner with 30 other grassroots organizations and programmers, Sheriff's Office, Dipsey Township, Food Gatherers, just all of the agencies. We were all doing the same work. We all had the same desire. And I was able to pull us all together, and we ended up having a playground program in the Sugarbrook area, as well as West Willow, as well as MacArthur, the MacArthur Superior Township area, and Fireman's Park. And that program, it went from being a one-site program for 30 kids to being a 3-site program for 150 kids. And it was free. And I said, absolutely no way will we kick any of the kids out. The first day of camp, someone got shot in the Sugarbrook area, and we had to deal with it. The kids came to camp with that on their heads. And so when I think about children and I think about where they are, we have an obligation or responsibility to always do more. And right now, I spoke when I first introduced myself, I was talking about the Boys and Girls Club. I had a safe place to go. Commissioner Jefferson had a safe place to go. And we had programs there. We had things there, and there were we didn't have to worry about who was paying for it. I guess we just never knew. It was food there, and it was things there. I would utilize funding that's reserved for other areas and dedicate them to the children and develop programs there for youth. Thank you. I see the timer.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We're going to ask same question to Justin. What specific programs would you like to see funded to prevent residents, especially youth, from entering the criminal legal system? In particular, how would you address current racial disparities in this area, and how would you fund it?
All right, thank you. Prior to my work now at the university as a professor of social work, my background has been in child and family therapy. So figuring out opportunities for youth is something that's really important to me. I want us to be able to come to a close on this long conversation about East Side Rec Center. I believe that we're within striking distance of doing that within the next several months. I would hope within the year. So I would hope that we'd be able to, we're going to allocate some funding using American Rescue Plan dollars to that project, or general fund dollars. We're still working through what exactly it'll look like, and building on a bigger project to be able to make that happen. We know that youth, there are just not as many opportunities in the eastern part of the county. There's not after school programming. So I want us to be able to support the school district and being able to develop that. And some of that's going to be advocacy to the state to do something about the school district's debt and to provide support to the school district. Another item that I've championed before I got elected and during my time on the board was the start of a college savings account program for kids in Washtenaw County. So this coming school year, we're going to be able to launch this program where all kids in Washtenaw County public schools are going to receive a savings account for college, trade school, or any other kind of post-secondary education. I want us to be able to continue getting other organizations on board to be able to provide funding into those accounts. I really work to be able to design this program to have equity at its core. And as part of that, kids that get free or reduced lunch are going to get a $500 seed to those accounts. I want us to be able to do more. Even if we can't get more money into those accounts, we know that the key thing that makes them effective is that kids that grow up having that kind of account see themselves as having a future, and they're several times more likely to go on to college or trade school or other post-secondary education. So those are a few of the things, and continuing the work that we're doing around combating community violence, which I hope is another question later, because I want to talk more about that.
All right, thank you. Annie, so here's the question by a show of hands of the candidates. Do you need me to repeat this question each time it's asked? Is that helpful for you? It is helpful, not helpful. All right, we'll go to middle ground.
Way.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
you.
so Annie,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, what specific programs would you like to see funded to prevent residents, especially youth, from entering the criminal legal system? In particular, how would you address current racial disparities in this area, and how would you fund it?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I think overall, in order for Washtenaw County to go in a direction that really prioritizes decarceration, we need to properly invest in housing and decriminalizing poverty. So we know that people who have accessible, consistent, stable housing are less likely to be in and out of the criminal legal system, and that's money. So we can use federal infrastructure dollars to invest properly in housing expansion to make housing more accessible in Washtenaw County. We can also use remaining American Rescue Plan dollars. We can also leverage state resources. So I believe at the center of issues that drive folks in Washtenaw County to the criminal legal system, it's lack of accessible housing, and that also goes into the racial disparities as well. In addition to that, we absolutely need a recreation center in Ypsilanti. Kids need something to do. Families need something to help them in the summertime when kids are out of school. I also believe more in investing in mentoring and tutoring programs and getting money and resources to the people who are on the ground in the community doing the real work. That way kids can interact with people that they see, neighbors that they've grown up with. We have a really good organization in Ypsilanti right now called the Supreme Felons, who really they de-escalate violence before it happens, or if something does get to a situation where there's a violent altercation, they get there, they stabilize the situation and try to get folks not to retaliate, which I think is super important. But we need to get folks like that, like Brian Foley and Billy Cole on the ground. They need resources to do the work that they're doing and more support. So I believe that we can shift money around. We put a lot of money into places that I don't actually get to the root cause of violence. So I'm really looking for us to invest in community properly. But I also really want to keep supporting the Washtenaw County prosecutor and the public defender in their effort to focus on youth justice. They just announced a program and I support that. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to ask Ronnie to answer the same question. I think consensus of not repeating it has been arrived at by participants and audience. So the question is in the chat. Do you need a refresher on that, or are you good?
No, I'm good.
Go ahead.
Let me just say that I was the first president of Youth on the Move who started the Black Festival in Ypsilanti, and the first effort to remodel Park Ridge would have faced a Harriet Street when I was age 14. Those issues are still existing today that were some years ago. The issue of how do we address some of the issues around social, about crime activities and involving young people as well as young adults. I think the center, one of the things I have noticed over the years, the center issues is education. We got to find ways that county can partner with the Intermediate School District, the Ypsilanti Community School District, to address the crucial lack of educational, let me say, learning centers, literacy centers, tutoring centers that exist on the east side. We got to raise the level of education. We got to raise the level as early as possible. That's why we put the Head Start Center here some 20-some years ago, to hope that we could focus on the eastern side of the county, to hope we can lift them up as young as possible. I think it's important that we do programs with reentry. I think it's important that we do programs with other groups that support and assist those who are returning citizens back to the community, but also look at the community at large. We must broaden our scope and broaden our activities to include the community to be ready. This community is changing, it's changing rapidly. As we wait for the additional activities to come place in this community, we hope we all can still be here. Affordable housing is a major challenge. And let me say, income demand is rising. $15 an hour will not do it. So it's important for us to find ways that we do collaboration and coordination with local municipalities as well as county and state entities to find the answer of funding program to lift our children and our young adults up academically. I think that is one of the key components that we possibly can make it work. We all rise together. Thank you for the question and thank you for the opportunity to answer it.
Thank you. Ricky?
All right, sorry about the delay. What comes to mind is when Dr. Charles Beatty began the Head Start program with High Scope, which showed that proper education from the early years before kindergarten improves the graduation rate and the rate of those who go to college. And therefore, our county has to find a way to do wraparound services with our students, whether it be for mental health, for food insecurity, for housing, and especially for academic tutoring. The Collaboration for Change, which was began by Rep. Peterson a few years back, did some tutoring processes over the 2021 year. And this is an opportunity now with those dollars that we have coming in to ensure that we can find a way to build that type of wraparound services with all of our county departments and services and programs, working with the nonprofits that are out there doing a great job right now. But it's just not enough. If you don't have an educated community, the things that happen to that community is you don't have people who become college educated. You don't have people who go into training to find work within the vocations. And therefore, you don't have people who haven't earned enough money to purchase homes and to purchase products so that they can contribute to the tax base of our county. So that's where I stand also. And also, I mean, it's just one of those things. We're in a position right now where a lot of us have to find a way to have the federal government and the state to help us deal with changing policies on building and developing homes. So that's racial disparity. We've been dealing with that through racial equity. I've been dealing with that since before it started, trying to get things better for our community to have those nonprofits that are effective with transformation. Thank you.
Thank you. So move on to a third question for everyone. It is in the chat. And so we're going to start with Justin. And the question is, there are growing opportunities for investment in green infrastructure and supporting local businesses and governments in transition. How would you use regulatory and purchasing power to drive investment toward communities that have been harmed by climate injustice and to fund a just transition? So Justin, we're going to start with you. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, this is a well-timed question because the county is going through its climate action planning process, and I invite people to tune in to an upcoming working session. I think we scheduled it for September, where we're going to go over the preliminary results of that. So we're looking at how do we start to begin to seriously invest in green infrastructure, and that looks like a variety of different things. It looks like LED lighting, for example. It looks like making sure that we have hybrid or electric cars as part of our different fleets. The economic or the environmental justice question is really one that's tied in with racial justice. I mean, we see areas across our county where we know that there are increased pollution, and it tends to be in Black and brown communities, and the result of that is health outcomes like increased rates of asthma. So I mean, this is both an environmental issue and a racial justice issue. And in terms of how we might be able to go about funding some of that work, one of the things that I did early on last year was get us to pass a policy that commits our recreational marijuana funding to racial equity initiatives. And I would like to see us seriously consider the racial equity component, the health component of that, and the environmental component of that.
Thank you. Ricky?
So yeah, we are definitely into process of our climate change and also our climate commit council. So we definitely have been doing things within our government to change our LED lightings, and as we were talking about the vehicles being changed, and also the community has I guess a problem with having good air. So we've been planting trees. The last time we planted trees was last month within the Apple Ridge area. There's been some more coming later, but we definitely need to make sure that our communities that are dealing with the problem over in West Willow, the ecological property over there, just over the border at Wayne County, we need to make sure that that maintains a air quality that is definitely not going to harm the lungs of our residents. We also need to be continually fighting for how we're going to move on this climate change to have ourselves to be ready in, I believe it's 2035, to have our carbon down to a safe level, our carbon footprint down, so that we can have a county that is, I guess, familiar with how to do these things. So we just need to have some more things that this group and the council is going to be considering. So thank you.
Thank you. Andy, we're going to ask you the same question.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, so I guess I'll just start by saying I fully support the Justice 40 plan that's been put together by the Biden administration, and that really puts racial equity front and center of green infrastructure and climate resiliency. And I think that's what we also need to do in Washtenaw County. So what I mean when I say putting racial equity at the front of climate resiliency, I mean investing in better transit and investing in housing that's accessible and affordable for people, investing more in missing middle housing, because housing is so critical to climate change. If we do not prepare to house more people, unfortunately, people in Ypsilanti and really Black residents of Ypsilanti will continue to get pushed out because of gentrification. We're already experiencing an influx of climate refugees in Michigan because there are other places in our country like California where the air quality is so bad that people who have the means to do so are coming here and buying a home that in California would be $1.5 million for $400,000 or $300,000 in Ann Arbor and in Ypsi, and pushing other people out, and they're driving up the cost of rent. So we just need more housing. It's so critical to make sure that people have places to live, because it is life or death. It will mean that if we don't have enough housing, people will be criminalized because of climate change. People will be put into prison and jail because they don't have anywhere to live. And that drives people's health down. It contributes to disparities in health. So transit and housing, I think the big picture on investing more in green infrastructure, it's housing. Housing has to be at the center of that, as well as transit. And I'm supporting the transit millage that is up for the city of Ypsilanti and in Ypsilanti Township that will increase frequency of rides and provide a better center for us downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Letitia? So you need to unmute yourself, Letitia. All right, so while she is working on that, we'll come back to you. We're going to go to Ronnie.
Thank you. First of all, let me just say I'm a strong advocate and supporter of Buy Michigan First legislation that have already passed in Michigan. The lower the carbon blueprint is something I strongly supported in the Michigan legislative body. Our present project we're doing here in eastern side of the county on roads, the road diet project in the city of Ypsilanti, as well as the overpass of 94, as well as US 12. we did much as possible, local and state, to make sure we use material locally and purchase locally and save tax dollars by collaborating with those various units of government. Utilities on Yucca and Ypsilanti and the state of Michigan working collectively have reduced the carbon for trucking things out of the area, but basically all doing it locally. So it's already some locally things we have done and some things I would look forward to doing here locally for those who are vendors to get more exposure or make it available to do business here in this particular community as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're glad to see that Letitia's got her mic on. So we'll hear from you.
I'm sorry. I was actually, the climate action plan was one of the aggressive moving things that the current board wanted to make sure that was in place. Initially, it came before the group that I work on, the team that I work on in county administration. It was presented to us in fall of 2021. And that's when the board actually allocated the funds to start the planning efforts for that. It was a goal of 12 months to get this going, I guess just in time for the election. And but the problem is long-term, and it's one of those things that will affect the community long after we're all gone. We do have a plan in place, and we have hardworking staff who are really dedicated. But we have staff that's also been working on this long before, many years back. So the county is well ahead of the LED lighting and doing things that was long before now, many years back. I strongly support making sure that we look at transportation. Housing is a big issue in this. How we are affecting our climate just in the daily things that we do. The resilient Washtenaw is going to be up and live, and that's going to be the tool to make sure that the county is on track on what they're doing as it relates to the climate action. And so we have a goal, and that goal is to have our community, by 2035, in a position that we're better in now. So I strongly agree with that transportation, housing, and all those things affect our environmental justice and environmental.
Thank you. So the next two questions are going to be district specific. You will see them in the chat. This question is for Ricky and Annie, and we'll start with Ricky. How would you collaborate with your fellow commissioners in order to address the specific needs of the businesses and residents in the district in both the city and the township? And you'll see that question in the chat and on the screen as well. So we'll start with you, Ricky.
All right, look at the question. So yeah, the county has 9 commissioners that deal with a budget that has to be, used to deal with the safety net, mostly of our residents. And so there is different needs in each district. So I would have to look at what our needs are as far as our businesses needing support, attracting businesses, and those type of things. We're dealing with, of course, Spark East, and that is doing more tech work, but I need to find ways to deal more with smaller businesses so that there is an avenue for those businesses to have some supportive subsidies that can help them get through hard times, and also startups. So there is a need for our economic development to be more funded than it has been passed in the county. And I would definitely try to support that, but also looking at the residents needing more things that our county has not provided, such as, ways to subsidize foreclosures. And to continue not doing that, we have residents, especially our seniors, that are moving out of their homes, and especially those who have been here a long time that I've known. They're moving, and they have to move to Wayne County because there's no homes within the area. So we need to find a way to find more ways to bring not only processes to get more homes and housing within our Ypsilanti area, but also in Ann Arbor, because a lot of our Ypsilantians work in Ann Arbor, and the transportation sometimes is not feasible, especially for those who work in the evenings and at night. So yes, I would definitely talk with them about what their needs are and needs that are in our community, and how we could collaborate to make those happen with the funds that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Annie?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I will, most importantly, I will, reach out to both residents and business owners and find out what issues are most important to them and the problems that they see currently, and if they have ideas on how things can be improved, or just, pilot things. Like, what do you think could work that we haven't tried before, and how can that benefit our whole community? And I think sometimes business concerns are different than just resident concerns, but there is a bridge to build there in ways that both can work together to make sure that we're uplifting the most vulnerable people in the community. So this can be done, by hosting regular coffee hours or going door to door, showing up to regular local government meetings to hear public comment and what the council or the township board's doing, and seeing both sides of, issues that are important and relevant, and really just, serving that and making sure that at the center of the concerns that are relative to both groups, that the resolution is something that's going to have a positive impact on the most vulnerable. And then working with my colleagues, the same way that I navigate city council, I have regular conversations about upcoming issues that I might be bringing forward or that are on the agenda, just to, to bridge the gap on some differences that might be there. I think recently, one thing that we just approved this week was 2 different housing developments, and businesses and residents alike were on either side of the issue, and council in leading up to those meetings were on either side, yes or no. And I worked really hard to have conversations with my colleagues about why I was supporting them both, and why I thought this was good for both business and residents, and how it would improve the future of Ypsilanti. So I think really talking to people, both residents and my colleagues, regularly. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is addressed to those candidates in District 5. And so we're going to start this round of questions with Letitia. And the question is, what proposals would you put forward to help prepare the residents of your district for the skilled jobs and technology and the new industry jobs that are developing on the eastern side of the county?
The proposal I think I would put forward would be that we would create an environment where all those things were together. I didn't mention the recreation center, but the recreation community center idea would be more than just a community center. It would be a place that residents could go, and that would be like a full service place where they would not only learn technology, but they would learn different types of maybe writing programs and job placement, non-traditional type of things in the same location that we go for health reasons. We would go there for to make us whole, to make us better citizens, to make us be able to prosper. So I would create an environment or proposal that would help to prepare residents to be skilled in areas that are non-traditional. There was an idea that it started out a conversation, but like a trade school. And that was for folks who didn't go to traditional college or didn't have the normal pathway, but learn a trade, or if they had a certain skill set, charm in on that. But as far as technology, it's very important. And I think that I would tap into being able to expand that and just creating an environment where they can be able to have that opportunity inside a community center environment where it's just all encompassed. So that's what I would like to see on the eastern side of the county.
Thank you. Thank you. Ronnie, we're going to pose the same question to you.
What an appropriate question at an appropriate hour. And we're at that hour in terms of a community. Basically, I've been working on many projects for the last few years. It's all around this. How do we get our workforce, our citizens ready for the diverse workforce that's taking place and the demand for the workforce? Unfortunately, some years ago, when most of the auto plants closed and downsized here in the eastern side, at one time we had close to 30,000 manufactured jobs. Over the last 30 years, we have seen a phase out of those jobs. It's maximally minimized to about 2,000 jobs out of 30,000. We saw this coming, and many folks did not know what to do. But for the last few years, we've been advocating, as I stated earlier, for more collaboration for our higher education institutions, as well as K through 12. We got to make our workforce ready. We got to make sure we create as much as possible the innovative services can be offered to our citizens of this community to get them ready. And the readiness is now. We can no longer wait. So the need and support of high school, need of support of our community college and our Eastern Michigan University continue to work together. I'm very proud of EMU president who stepped up some years ago, working collectively with my office along with Washtenaw Community College, and getting great support from some of the folks here in the Intermediate School District as well as the local district, but we need to move it farther and faster. The cooperation of Wayne County Community College President, Dr. Ivy, who has been a beacon light to urban education, not only here in Michigan, but throughout the country. We're looking at best practice models, and I think you will hear soon what's taking place. We cannot wait on the eastern side. The development is now, is here, and the workforce got to be ready to work. Thank you for the question.
And thank you for the answer. And Justin, we're going to close this round with you.
All right, so I think because of the auto industry leaving the area, we have to really be strategic about where we invest next and what kind of training we do. And I think we need to leverage a lot of the resources that we have available to us, particularly in the eastern part of the county. So I'll give you an example. So we have the American Center for Mobility right here. It's a world-class center where there's the testing of autonomous vehicles. We also have Willow Run Airport, and there's a lot of work that goes on there with the testing of drones and work there. I'm gonna invite people to Google this because this is really interesting work. So last year I pushed for us to re-enter our partnership with Aerotropolis. The county had stepped away from that partnership some years back. The county's re-entered that partnership, and then I engaged in conversations with the American Center for Mobility to figure out how do we be better partners, and then what do we need to do to be able to help this industry build up to create jobs, and so people know what kind of training they're going to need to be really successful. One of the projects that I'm the lead on from the county on is this development of a project where we can be able to use drones, hopefully if we get the funding for it, deliver food into food insecure areas. That's the direction that so much is moving in, particularly with us having this Amazon plant that's going to be in the eastern part of the county too. So with this new industry that's popping up here, we need people that are going to be trained to be able to repair or build those kinds of ground or air robots. We have plenty of higher ed institutions in our county that we need to be working with to make sure that we're getting our residents in the eastern part of the county and across the county trained to be able to step into that field as it continues to pop up and as those jobs become more plentiful. There's tremendous opportunity for us with the American Center for Mobility and our partnership with Aerotropolis. That's the direction I see jobs moving in, and that's the future focused vision I think that we need to look at.
All right, thank you all. Thank you all. So we're now going to go to some questions from the community, and we're going to start with a video question. We have 3 video questions. The first one is from Jan Peart.
Hi, my name is Jan Peart and I live in Superior Township. I want to thank ICPJ for holding candidate forums, giving our community an opportunity to learn about the folks who want to represent and work for us in government to protect and uplift our lives. I'd like to hear a personal story about a core value that you hold. I'd like to know what that value is and why you chose that core value. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. So we're going to start with, I'm going to ask Ronnie if you would start out with this question. And we're going to pose it to all 5 of you.
let me just say what my core value is. My core value is driven by the fact that it's not partisan, it's not political. I'm driven by being born a Jim Crow kid, and never thought I would see integration, never thought I would see the fairness or the attempt of fairness that exists here today. My fight and my commitment is always to fight injustice, fairness, and equitable. That's why I was #1 in 3 sexual orientation ordinance in Ypsilanti, the first sexual orientation ordinance in any community. I stood by it as a county commissioner, as a state legislator. My issues and commitment to civil rights, I joined NAACP at 8 years old. And every major demonstration I just about protested in across the country, including the 1968 March on, Poor People's Campaign, something we lived every day. My core value is to treat everybody fairly and equally, and to make sure you defend their rights to live and live the life they choose. That's a core value I have, and that's the value I live by.
Thank you. Andy, we're going to ask you to answer the same question.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, one of my core values is I believe that access to clean water is a fundamental human right. In my childhood, I experienced a pretty extreme period of poverty. I grew up in Southwest Detroit until I was 10, and my mom struggled as a single mother. And there was a period of time where we didn't have running water in my home. And I didn't, as a kid, understand, and it didn't really bother me. I still thought my mom was a good mom, but that was like a pivotal moment in my childhood where I was no longer, our family was kind of torn apart. My brother and I went to live with other relatives. People who know anything about water in Detroit, it's very expensive, and poor people face the biggest burden to access to water. So it's kind of shaped the way that I navigate just like government. It's why I do public service. I think government can improve lives, and I think government can help people before they're broken. And I always think about my mom and how her life might have been different if we just had access to water and if she just didn't have to struggle. And I don't think anybody should ever have to go through that or feel like, they can't pick the pieces back up together, but there are barriers to basic things. And access to clean water isn't something that anybody should have to be without. Water, is life, and government should be there to help people before they're broken. So that's a core value that I have.
Thank you. Justin, we're going to ask you to answer the same question.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent question. So I talk a lot about opportunity, and I do that because I think it's the government's responsibility to make sure that we're providing opportunities for everybody to be able to live the best life that they can live. I talk about that from an economic and a health and a safety perspective. And a lot of that comes from my background growing up in a single income household. Me and my family didn't grow up with much money. A lot of that, we relied on government services like WIC and food stamps and Section 8. And I don't know where we would have been without that. I think a lot about health too, because chronic illnesses run in my family. And then there was a period of my life where my mom was suffering from a chronic illness and was also was my grandmother's primary caregiver at the time too, while she was struggling with that. So, that's one of the reasons why I went into social work, is a lot of the experiences that I had navigating, the healthcare system with my family growing up, and the experiences that I had growing up. And economically, and that's the piece that's driven me to get involved in public service through politics, because we need a government that is responsive in that way. So when I talk about making sure that people have the opportunity to build wealth, that's because I think the government should support that. Everybody should be housed. There shouldn't be a question of if you have enough food to eat. Everybody should have access to food. That's why I'm really focused on us combating food insecurity, because these at the bare minimum, these are things that I believe government should be doing. Safety. We see community violence as such a challenge in our county and across the country. And I see that a lot in my neighborhood. I mean, there was a shooting just right around the corner from my house yesterday. And we see a lot of that kind of community violence in this area. And I'm really driven to have the government be responsive in that way, because I see that as our responsibility.
Thank you. Ricky?
Yes, thank you for that question, Ms. Pert. Yeah, the driving force of my life is a value called honesty. And I choose to do that every day, because what I found out is by walking in that honesty, not being afraid of what type of response would come from being honesty, what type of consequences would come from that honesty, I know that I'm in the perfect will of my faith. And therefore, we need to be honest about a lot of things. Things that we don't know, we need to admit it. Things that we're wrong about, we need to admit it. And those things that are different from us, we need to admit our true feelings about them. Now, I have an honest opinion about a lot of things, but my main honest opinion is to be open-minded about all things, whether it's people, whether it's situations, whether it's things that we have to discuss as a county or as a government. I have to be open-minded because I have to listen for that honesty, even if I may not be in an honest frame of mind that day, to hear myself say the things that I know are true. So definitely, if I don't have that principle, I would have no integrity. I would have no sincerity or sacredness of others' opinions to be who they are, who they love, and how to choose to use their bodies or not to use their bodies. Thank you.
Letitia.
I believe that my core value is integrity, and integrity is something that you do when no one else is watching. I believe that as a county official and even a person of power, a person of in leadership, I think have a responsibility to always do the right thing. Always do the right thing when someone, even when no one is looking, no one's watching. When the cameras are on and the board lights are on and you're in the community, that's one person. But you should be that same person when you're behind the closed doors of a meeting. You should never try to silence someone just because you're afraid that they may reveal who you are. I believe that if you have integrity, then you don't have to worry about if it's in a big crowd. You don't have to worry about if it's on a Zoom call or on a platform. You don't have to worry about any of those things because integrity speaks volume. And as public servants, as people in these positions, we have a responsibility to make sure that our words that we say are trustworthy and that we believe what we say, and that what we say, we believe that we're doing the right thing for the people that we call ourselves representing. I don't in my work, it's been many circumstances in which there was conversation said publicly, but behind closed doors, decisions were made privately and not necessarily in the best interest of the people. And so I believe if integrity was something that we all had, we'll be a better community for it. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have another video question that will on the screen shortly.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kelly Goolsby, and I'm an Ypsilanti Township resident. Thank you for having this forum. And my question for the commissioners would be, what are ways the county could support long-term affordability to housing? Not just the affordability, but also access to affordable housing. Access to affordable housing for all. It's increasingly becoming an issue, so thank you.
Thank you. So Letitia, we're going to start with you first on this one.
Well, first I want to say I believe that affordable housing or housing in general is a human right. I believe that we should all have the ability to have a safe place to call home. I believe in Ypsilanti Township specifically, we're looking at addressing are we talking about affordable housing or are we talking about fair market housing? And I do think that they're both different things. The biggest money, I want to say not money maker, but the biggest person, the one that generates the most money in Ypsilanti Township are actually homeowners who are renting their property. And so what happens is if you live in Ypsilanti Township and how the market is now, it's going to be very hard for you to find housing. And even if you work, if you have an employer, you work every day, it's going to be hard for you to afford housing. Now, to go outside to the neighboring communities, Canton and Ann Arbor, Superior Township, some areas in Superior Township, even to go into those areas, you will find just working a reasonable wage, you won't be able to find housing. That is, the housing market in Washtenaw County is a serious, serious problem because it does generate all the other issues and problems that we have. It is connected to everything else we do. Sometimes you might have to live way out in Detroit and then you have the problem of having transportation. How are you going to get to work? I do believe that Washtenaw County, all partnering municipalities, we do need to come together because this is a serious, serious issue. We cannot build all these communities up and then save the housing for new folks coming into our district. I think we need to make sure that we have housing for those who live here. Thank you.
Thank you. Ricky, we're going to ask you to take the question next.
Okay. Yeah, the housing market in Ypsilanti and in Ann Arbor is so much demand that the prices of these houses are becoming not affordable for even those who are middle class and lower middle class. So we have to find a way to deal with this at not only the county level, but the federal level. And we were dealing with, like Fannie Mae and those type of things and HUD. We need to find a way for them to get us into situations where we can see that there is some incentive in dealing with them so that they can make housing that is affordable. We also need to give more incentives within our county. We need to find ways that we can get our universities who may have land to be able to find ways to subsidize housing for those who work in those areas and live. Some live in Wayne County and still work in the Ann Arbor area. And so we need to find ways to collaborate, not only there, but with our state government also. The housing crisis is all over the country. And so therefore, that's why I believe there has to be a federal solution first that can give us the avenue to start at the state and county level and making more processes that are friendly to those who are living here to not lose their homes and those who are not making enough to afford a home, but they can find a way to bring those prices down and those costs. Thank you.
Thank you. Ronnie?
Let me just say that this problem has been occurring over the years, and a lot of, let me say, policies and projects made some of this happen. We should have been reinvesting in housing that people had owned for years. Many people in Ypsilanti built their own homes, particularly on the south end of town. And we should have housing assistance for them to keep their homes in order to pass it on to their children. The other thing that have occurred, of course, the rising cost of taxes in order to do business here in this community. Taxes have risen tremendously, and a lot of people lost their home because of tax foreclosure. So they couldn't pass them on to the next generation. Neither of them had the position to sell them. Basically, they were forced into tax sales. And let me say that our county clerk county treasurer did a wonderful job trying to save as many people as possible. But many of the people realized the fact we came out of segregated housing. Many people could not get loans to maintain their homes. And investors came in and just swept them up. And unfortunately, that happened and happened at a bad time when the highlights of the housing crisis had just begun. I would say in terms of the affordable housing is a major issue, but how you make it affordable when the demand of, let me say, for rent is continuing to rise. $15 an hour won't pay for a rental in this community. Yesterday in a meeting, I had a discussion to rent this out up to $1,600 in some of the areas that you wouldn't believe it's worth $900 a month. But it's up to $1,600 because the market is constantly driving. You cannot afford to pay that kind of rent at $15 an hour. That's why the education and the training is so important, how we get people ready. But how do we respond now? We must come together as units of government to find a way. One of the things Commissioner Jefferson pointed on, the fact is you're right, it's public land. How do we incorporate public land in terms of market to be part of the market as a down payment to assist people in housing. How can we use public land to redevelop to make sure it's affordable and stay affordable, not tax credit driven? Tax credits is only good for 15 to 20 years or 30 years, and then all of a sudden it goes back to market rate. That plan does not work. Tax credits is not the answer toward affordable housing. Thank you. I'll stop because I ran out of time.
Thank you. Thank you. Justin.
Thank you. So this is an excellent question because we know from surveys that we've done that the affordable housing crisis is an issue across the entire county that most people are interested in us doing something about it. I'll start off by saying that for us to really solve the affordable housing crisis, we need some initiatives at the state level, like rent control and inclusionary zoning. Right now, local governments can't do that because state law prevents us from doing it. But I'll talk about a few things that we can do at the county level to be supportive of solving this crisis. One of them is I'd like to see us have a down payment assistance program, and that is something that we're talking about. People should be able to own their own home if they want to own a home, and we know that that's one of the best ways to build wealth, and it's a tremendous asset for families. So I'd like for the county to be able to offer down payment assistance. The county treasurer's office continues to have a great tax foreclosure prevention program where they help people that are getting behind on their taxes. Our county treasurer is in the news very often for that program and its continued success. I'd also like to see us invest in supportive housing. I'm a social worker, and programs like that we know work. When you can support people with all the other challenges that they're facing, they're able to stay in their homes. So if there are economic challenges because job security is an issue, we need to be able to help support with that too. So the training piece for keeping people in their homes. A bigger thing, an initiative that I would love to see some community groups coalesce around. I've had some conversations with a lot of people across the county about this, is the development of community land trusts. I know I'll run out of time if I get too much into it, but put simply, what that would look like is, a nonprofit would own the land that a home is on, and then they could sell that home to a low-income family. The low-income family could keep that home, and if they ever wanted to sell it, they could sell it to another low-income family who could then use that to, build wealth. But the land would always stay under the control of that nonprofit, and that would prevent landlords and slumlords from acquiring those properties and not really taking care of it. An issue we have in my neighborhood is we have a lot of landlords that live in Miami or somewhere else. This is the kind of initiative that would stop that and keep that wealth within the community.
Thank you. Annie?
Sorry, I was having a hard time unmuting. Thank you. I really appreciate this question. Housing is my biggest concern right now in Ypsilanti. I think that we need to invest more broadly in permanent supportive housing. So that's housing with wraparound supports, where people who experience chronic homeless and substance use get services that they need to just stay on their medication, stay in their employment, and stay stable in their housing. We also need to really try to get other places outside of Ypsilanti and Washtenaw County to invest properly in affordable housing, both for seniors and families. And we also need to invest more in the missing middle housing. That way we can take some of the burden. There are many people who aren't poor enough to live in affordable housing, but can't afford housing in Ypsilanti. So we really need to tackle all of those issues at the same time. A few ways that we've been successful in Ypsilanti is, well, community activism. We have a great process, the Community Benefits Ordinance. And out of that, we just approved 2 housing projects in Ypsilanti. One that's rentals, half senior, half regular, all tapped at different levels of AMI. But the biggest point is making sure that they're affordable AMI for Ypsilanti. Ypsilanti's area median income is way different than the rest of Washtenaw County. So just really, increasing affordable housing in other parts of the county, as well as missing middle. And the person before me mentioned community land trust. Yes, part of the second project that we just adopted has a permanent affordable aspect to that. That means a person can buy a home with a mortgage at 40, 60, or 80% AMI. And they also, when it gets sold, it has to be sold at that. So basically, Ypsilanti just approved essentially a community land trust. So I'm a big supporter of community land trust. I think that that's the direction that we should be going, and helping folks in the community organize around that. But also density. It's a scary word for some people, but it's a reality that we all need to face. It's climate resiliency. Density is climate resiliency. Thank you.
Thank you. A final video question will be up on the screen. And we will start the answer with Ricky.
Hello, my name is Daryl Johnson. I am a Ypsilanti Township resident. I live in Galt Village, and I want to thank each of you for your public life. My question is this: what would you do to increase access to summer jobs for youth who might be experiencing unreliable transportation, food insecurity, or other barriers? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. That is a situation where, we have summer jobs available, all the time at the county, at the township level, for parks and things like that. But we need to find a way to have our Michigan Works programs, which has for the past few years dealt with summer jobs and also the wraparound services for these children to be trained and to find out what they need in order to sustain those jobs through the summer, whether it be transportation, whether it be those things that they need for clothing and those type of things. So we also have with the Ypsilanti Community Schools a resiliency center where they can also get clothes and make sure that they look well when they go to these jobs. That training is very important because our children have a way of dealing with things differently. If they don't know what to do, then they'll most likely fail in those jobs. But also talking to the business owners who have been a part of this program for these summer jobs to make sure that they are willing to take children and if they make mistakes, deal with it according to the ability to recover from those mistakes instead of rehashing it as if it's something that is negative, because they're in the training process to get it to become adults into the workforce. And so that's definitely what we need to do. And also we have ways of funding that also through Michigan Works, and the Sheriff's Office has been involved also with that. So we want to continue to look at that. Transportation is something that a student development program that has been funded through entrepreneurs has been dealing with some students in the Ypsilanti Community School District. So we want to make sure that those things are provided. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Ronnie for your answer.
Thank you. What an excellent question to ask, and an excellent, let me say, effort should be placed to how do we address this. First of all, I worked with summer youth program as a youth in Ypsilanti, so I remember some of the first youth programs that came out, and of course, Muslim was funded by the federal government at that time. And it was difficult about transportation, and it exists today. And of course, it was difficult to even get a summer youth job. I think what we have to do is, as Ricky talked about, Commissioner Jefferson talked about the fact of using the employment and training program to put it in full gear. I think the county got to put resources behind it, become a full operation. I think that summer youth program should be expanded to be year round. I think we got to approach using the employment and training program to approach private corporations to help give kids the early skill building they need. So I would look at being it broader in the sense of not just summer, but making it broader and asking the private sector to step up and take on some of the youth a year in a particular program. And there's some incentives we could do for private sector to be involved in this as well. Our kids need to have a broad perspective more than just cutting weeds and cutting grass. They should have an exposure to what goes on in the private world and help them focus on what they should do for their life in the future and for their educational goals. So yes, and I would do yes in terms of transportation. Many of them are able to be independent. So definitely, I think we should work with AATA to make sure passes are available. And for those who don't have passes, I think this is a time for us to talk about universal vehicles to be available by van to take them to various jobs. It's more than just having a job. It's allowing them the opportunity to gain independence It's allowing them to have strength of being able to control some of their destiny of saving money and investing money at an early age, particularly for school clothes or whatever their choice may be. But it's also giving them a goal to say where I want to be in life. I want to seek employment, I want to seek in training, and eventually I want to work for that company. So I would say broader, and I would direct one of the departments to directly work hand in hand to make sure we have a year-round youth employment training program. It should exist anyway. Thank you.
Thank you. Letitia?
I am very supportive of youth employment programs. I've been very active in the program that is put together by Michigan Works, and the two main employers in that program is University of Michigan and Washtenaw County. We have always been support the program by having youth come in and actually shadow employees, different employees throughout the county. Far as transportation and things like that, those things are in place right now. I just think that they need to be enhanced and identified. A lot of resources are they're well-kept secrets. It's like, you know, that they're there. I have a summer youth person that comes every year, and I reach out and ask for 2 at a time because I know how important it is. I actually started Washtenaw County in the summer youth program way back when. And it was a summer youth program at the video library. And that's how I started my career at Washtenaw County as a teenager. And so I know it's very important. And as a county commissioner, I would make sure that not only do they have the opportunity, but that they have everything that they need to be successful. And to Ronnie's point, I'm not talking about in my years of Parks and Rec. Those are great summer jobs where they're, you know, being lifeguards or rangers or things like that. That's great. But you want them to take away a skill that they can actually use. And a lot of these young people are really smart. They just need someone to be there and to show them and to work alongside of them. So my goal would be to find a way, find resources, because we have to invest in our children. We have to invest in these young people. They're smart, they're intelligent. They just need us to take them by the hands and show them the way, because they really are the future. So I strongly would support a summer program as well as a year-round program as well. That's an excellent idea.
Thank you. Justin?
Thank you. All right. So yeah, the question asks us to focus on accessibility. So one of the ways that I think we could make it more accessible for kids is to build out an additional program that goes along with it that helps with those issues related to food insecurity and transportation and other challenges. So we've talked a little bit tonight about wraparound supports, and I would say that this is really what we would want to build upon. You're not going to be able to go to work or learn effectively if you're hungry, or if you didn't get enough sleep, or there are other challenges going on at home. So I would like to see us invest in having, bias in favor of social workers, but other professionals that would be able to help with the kids that are in these programs, and making sure that getting meals during the day is part of the program. So breakfast should be provided. I would assume lunch would be provided too, and maybe even a dinner should be provided as part of it, depending on how long they're going to be at work for the summer program. Transportation, we should have the expectation that we would totally provide transportation to and from, or any location that the youth would have to go to as part of the program. And then if there are other challenges going on, whether they're mental health challenges or other, we want to be able to connect the participants with the relevant supports and services. I mean, that's one thing that we're really good at with county government, is that we provide services and we're the safety net. So we would know who to connect anyone that needs those supports and services with. So that's where I'm at with it. An additional thing that's more than just the work that the youth will be participating in is providing all those resources that people need, like food, and building that into the program. So it's not something that people have to opt into. It's just a normal part of the program that people are going to have meals, they're going to have the transportation, and then they'll get whatever other services and supports they need.
Thank you. Well, we've really appreciated all of the input you've given us. We've got a question for each of you. Will you meet with the vote caucus within the first 60 days if you are elected? So Justin, your answer?
Absolutely. I'll meet with you after I win the primary.
Letitia?
Of course, I'll be there on August 2nd.
Ronnie?
I'll see you election night.
and Ricky. All right, looks like he may have stepped away from me.
Okay, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, indeed.
Can you ask that question one more time?
Yeah. Yeah, will you meet with the vote caucus within the first 60 days if you're elected?
Yes, sir. That would be a thing
right.
that I would do.
All right. So we're going to ask you to put your contact information in the chat so that people can contact you after tonight. And we want to give each of you a minute for a closing statement. And that question is, how do you distinguish yourself from other candidates, and why should voters choose you? So we're going to start with Letitia.
Thank you. I have been a lifelong resident of Ypsilanti Township. I decided to run because I wanted to raise the county to be this great community that I know it can be and reach its full potential. I'm committed to fighting for the resources and programming which make real positive impacts on our community. My passion is people, not politics. Before I ask anyone for my vote, I ask, are you receiving the resources you need? Are you receiving programming that helps you and your family thrive and keep them safe? Is it easy to access the human services programs to support your families and children, seniors, and all the things we talked about? Are we attracting businesses for the good of our residents and supporting our local entrepreneurs? The county has $7 million coming to the county in ARPA funding, and that money was geared towards helping communities recover from the impact of COVID. My question would be, did we see any of that in our community? If you cannot say yes to all the questions, then I say it's time for a fresh perspective. I am your candidate, Letitia Sharp, and I need your support. Vote on August 2nd, 2020. Letitia Sharp, County Commissioner for District 5. Thank you.
Thank you. Justin?
All right, well, thank you for putting this forum together. What I would say is, especially during this time of crisis, Ypsilanti Township and Augusta Township and the county as a whole needs strong and consistent leadership on the board, someone that's willing to fight and that has the courage to fight for the resources that we need, and someone that can work effectively with the rest of the commissioners, because so much of what we do has to be a compromise and be able to work effectively with others. And we need someone with a vision for the future. I've proven that I'm that person through the work that I've done in my first term. And that's why my colleagues elected me to chair our Ways and Means Committee in my first year, which is something that's really unusual for a first-term commissioner. It's also why my colleagues trusted me to be able to figure out a way to make our meetings more effective and accessible to the public. And that's why I have the support of 7 other commissioners. So we want to look at approaches countywide to move everyone forward. That's the kind of perspective that we need going forward. And that's what I'll continue to provide if I'm reelected. Thank you all for putting this forum together, and please reach out.
Thank you. Ricky?
Can you hear me, Joe?
Yes.
Well, let's say that knowledge without wisdom is just like wisdom without action. And you can take a business, a person, or an organization off the wells as quickly as anything, but because of this, well as for many more reasons, we ought to be hiring and training wisdom and promoting wisdom and encouraging in every way we can in business and politics and in our personal lives. Any other course is an unwise course. So we want to elect people who have proven that they can make decisions to not put our $300 billion budget in deficit. We don't need people like that. So that's what I've been doing, and making sure that those things are correctly allocated to the right things, and changing the culture of the county as a distributor of funds into our residents has been my main course. And that has been happening because of our racial equity office and those things that we have been trying to fund that haven't been funded before, that we believe will cause transformation. So vote for me because of the wisdom and the balance that I bring to the commission, also bringing the consciousness of what it is that we need to make decisions for the right reasons.
Thank you. And Ronnie.
Thank you. Once again, I thank you for allowing the opportunity to be on this forum. I think what what makes me different, and then certainly I appreciate all of the candidates on this forum. I think this is everybody's right to have a right to run for public office. The only thing that makes me really different is that I am independent. I don't sing well in anybody's choir. I am an independent voice. I'm an independent person of reasoning. My effectiveness have proven that. I work well for this district as a council person, as a county commissioner, as well as a state legislator. I think my record of delivery is there. I don't back down and I don't cut and run. I stay focused on my constituency. I don't try to run for chair of the board or chair of any committee. My number one focus is the best interest of my constituency. And I think anyone who have ever engaged with me will tell you that it's my highest priority to represent the people who send me to that table, whether it's Lansing, whether it's council, whether it's county board, to represent them extremely well and use all the influence I can to be effective in their best interest. Thank you. And that's not only my district, but the county-wide as well.
Thank you. Thank you all. We thank you for spending time with us.